Name's Daya. Yes, and I'm a second-year master's student at the University of Alberta. So we're going to change pace a little bit. I'm going to do a talk for you guys. I'm going to tell you about a performance piece that I created, produced, and directed in 2011 with Regina Public School Board. And so, of all the performances that I've had a chance to work on, this is by far my favorite piece because not only was it an exercise for students for inquiry-based learning, so they were kind of the guiding force of all of this. It was a chance for our staff to come and get together and work with the students. And it was a chance for us to engage with the community, both in the city of Regina, but also the surrounding reserves. And finally, it exemplifies student empowerment. Okay. Here we go. All right, so let me give you a little bit of background information. So the school that I worked at was Alberta Community School. It's located in Regina, Saskatchewan. It's the school borders are north central all the way to the outskirts of Regina, so that's approximately a 30 square kilometer radius. We have about 650 students that participate in the school. And so many of the students come from low socioeconomic status. Some of them are in abusive environments. And as a result of it, the school board has designated the Elsiemirnak as a community school. So what that means is additional funding is given to our students to kind of even the playing field. So we have, for instance, we have a lunch program, we have a breakfast program, we've got clothing for them, we send packages home on long weekends, we do daily lice checks, unfortunately. So those are kind of our students. And so as a result of it, also we have a guidance counselor, a school social worker that are kind of in place, as well as 2 elders that serve as support to our students. Elsiemirnak School is also a transitional site for our Ranchero program, which allows students who are at risk and currently in the process of transitioning back into the school system. So we have them in our space. My role at Elsiemirnak School was to be the arts education teacher. I worked with kindergarten to grade 8 students, and I taught music, dance, drama, and visual arts. Each year we created 3 large-scale productions, and so large-scale I mean 200 to 300 students each, and each one of them was an opportunity for them to celebrate their accomplishments. So we felt that it was important, so that's why we did it. In 2011, there was a couple school issues that we wanted to address, and some of these concerns we wanted to do so through performance practice. So the first concern that we had was that the staff and students, we need to work on their interpersonal relationships. There was a lot of behavior problems on the playground as well as within the classroom setting. The staff were not functioning as a team, we weren't working together. And so as a result, also, the government of Saskatchewan has also mandated that treaty education be taught to each grade level. So the common questions that teachers ask is, how do I do this in a meaningful way? So what we decided to do was use the performing arts as a way to kind of express what our needs are. So for our performance, the mission statement was that our goals was for teachers and students to come and learn about the Aboriginal cultures that live within our school community. So that is First Nations, Métis, and Inuit cultures. We wanted to expose our students to the history, the culture, as well as the traditions found within our school. We wanted to work with the people within our community, but also the surrounding neighborhoods and reserves. And we wanted to emphasize the teachings of the Circle of Courage. Now, about 10 years ago, the Regina Public School Board included the teachings of the Circle of Courage alongside their mission statement. So through a series of consultations with elders and board members, they adapted the model of medicine wheel to be included within the school. So this is the Circle of Courage, and there's 4 vocabulary words that they created and decided that that's what we need to be whole. So the 4 words are generosity, belonging, mastery, and independence. And so these are the 4 words that, as a fundamental, we can use and implement in our daily lives to be whole. Now, on the surface, it may appear as an Aboriginal model, it may appear to, but in actuality, these are 4 words that can be cross-cultural and can be related in so many different ways. So, for our performance, our performance is called Dancing in Our Bones. Now, each school addresses the Circle of Courage in a different way. Some schools do so with a school assembly. Some classrooms have like a sticker program kind of thing. We decided to do it, as I said, through a performance. So our performance was premiered on June 8, 2011. It engaged about 275 students, and each of the classrooms had a specific topic. So they were either First Nations, Métis, or Inuit. In the arts education time, we created a performance piece and we learned about the traditional and historical. In their social studies and humanities classes, they also complemented their classroom learning. And then also the grade-designated tree training was taught. Each classroom created a visual art piece, which then in turn became the backdrop for our performance. So it showcased our students' learning, but also throughout the process of how they got to where they are. They created beautiful murals that lined the walls of our gym. And so, the following is our story and kind of how we got there. Now, the script for Dancing in Our Bones was inspired by the work of Wilfrid Burton. Wilfrid Burton is a Métis author that lives in Regina, but now he's living in Saskatoon. And he has worked for the Regina Public School Board, but is most famously known for his work, his trilogy, that he has written for the Turtle Island House series. So the books Fiddle Dancer, Dancing in Our Bones, and Call of the Fiddle are now pieces that are part of the Saskatchewan curriculum. Working with Wilfrid was great, because not only did he understand what we needed to achieve, and the curricular components, but also he was able to tell our story in a meaningful way. So the story that we told was trilingual. It was French, English, and Cree. And it was the story of 5 cousins that had many questions about who they are and where they came from. And so they found a scrapbook that was Cookham's, which was Christine's grandmother, and in a chest, as well as a series of other items, which included, so alongside a Métis sash, a book, a promise is a promise, moccasins, a jingle dress, pictures of a round dance, and a nookshook, and a piece of stokeson. So these items kind of served as our guiding forces so that we could address all the First Nations, Métis, and Inuit cultures. The voice of Cookham was told by Elder Yvonne Forehorns. Now, having her in this role was so particularly significant because she often would come into our school and would kind of serve as a grandmother. She would come in and make bannock for our students, and she would talk to them about things in Cree, or she would translate things. But having her as a grandmother in this character as well as off was really significant for our students. So we're really lucky to work with her. The performance of Dancing in My Bones happened in our school gym. Now, in times past, performances that we've done, we rent out a stage. We have sparkly costumes. We have somebody who does the lights and the sound, and so they're elaborate productions. But this one, the tone was different, and we needed it to be different. So instead, we decided to do it in our school gym. And so the costumes were just t-shirts. And so the students wore shirts that represented the Circle of Courage, because those were the fundamentals of what we wanted to teach. As I had mentioned, the students' artwork was the backdrop of it. So no elaborate backdrop, it was just their stuff. And so it was more about the content and being in a space which is accessible for our community to come in and work with us, but also allows them a chance to feel comfortable and safe to express how they're feeling. For the first aspect of our performance, the Plains First Nations. Now, for Plains First Nations, celebrations often occur on a powwow. Powwows happen in spring and summer months, and they last anywhere from 2 to 5 days. It's a call to the community, so everybody comes in, and in a sense, it's a family gathering. The following are some pictures of our students participating in the Awasachuk powwow, the First Nations Treaty 4 powwow, as well as National Aboriginal Day. So up top here is a picture of a hoop dancer. So hoop dances involve a series of hoops where men dance, and they use these hoops to manipulate shapes, so they can either create the bear, or the eagle, or the medicine wheel. In the bottom here, this is a woman dancing the jingle dance. And so there's hundreds of these beautiful jingles that they have on their dresses. And they dance in a zigzag passion to represent the zigzag formations of life. And then finally, in the bottom here, that's an image of a young girl dancing the fancy shawl, or it's also known as the blanket dance, which is the most modern, or the newest part of the powwow celebrations. The powwow drum serves as the music for the floor drum, serves as the music for the powwow. Now, when using the drum, it often calls upon the spiritual, the emotional, and the mental aspects of the person. And so the leader of the drum signals to the dancers if there's any change in tempo, if there's any change in dynamics, and we would do so with a series of 5 offbeats, or it's often called 5 push-ups, or a hot 5. And so those are just the 5 offbeats that will indicate to the dancers if there's change or anything. For our performance, we had an opportunity, as I said, to work with our Ranch Heirloom students. Now, these are students who come from a colorful past. They are in the Ranch Heirloom program as a means of rehabilitating themselves back into the public school board system. And so we asked 2 of our students to come and work with us. And so it was amazing to watch the students grow. The young lady that we had a chance to work with was so proud of her heritage and came in and brought in her shawl and talked to the students. They talked about the protocol and how to behave and how to create an intertribal dance and how to do a round dance and talked about all this. Whereas our young man, he refused to acknowledge his First Nations. He knew all the dances and he knew all the steps and all the songs, but he didn't want to say that yes, those First Nations. He talked very fondly about his experience down in the reserve and being with his grandfather, but did not want to come out and say. And his actions spoke more. He was excited to come to class. He came and worked with our youth. He helped them perfect their steps, and we were able to coach them through it. And I know Jonathan's going to expand on this later, but it's the process of seeing how music and dance are a means of allowing these students to express themselves. As I had mentioned, we were graciously given a series of grants for this performance to happen. Now, one of the kind of amazing surprises that happened was that we were able to work with Terrence Littleton and the Cooperative Boys. Terrence Littleton is famously known for his blacklight group dance, which he has performed at the Vancouver Olympics. He has traveled all over the world, performed for the Queen. So having Terrence in our gym back up our guys was a huge deal, and our students were so excited to have him there. So that was an amazing experience. We're so thankful for that. Moving on to the Métis portion of our performance. This is Wilfred in the middle. So this is who's created the Buckfiddle Dancer, Dancing in My Bones. And so Wilfred shared with us an oral history, and so he explained how the Métis, the Red River became to be. So he explained that at the forks in the river in Winnipeg, there was Scottish, Irish, and First Nations people there, and they heard this music coming from the background, and it was changing the dynamics. It was kind of wafting through sound, and they weren't sure what it was, but they danced anyways. And so what they had actually created was the Métis jig, which included steps of the Irish, the Scottish, and Plains First Nations. And the music that they were trying to emulate was the sound of the bagpipes that's being carried through the wind. So now when the Métis jig is performed, the instrument is tuned higher to emulate those sounds, and also you can see steps such as powwow steps and Irish steps and Scottish steps as well. For our performance, we had an opportunity to work with Elder John Watson, who is considered a modern elder. John was able to come in and, first off, he's comical, and his stories are hilarious. And he was able to talk to our students about experiences being in a one-room classroom, being a man, excited about dance. He taught our students the difference between the Red River Jig as well as the confidence, such as the rabbit dance, which is a partner dance done together. And so he also talked about life in the reserves and some of the hardships that there were. He never painted it in a positive light, but just spoke to those experiences in a real way. And so it was really meaningful to have that opportunity to hear his stories and kind of hear from a first-hand perspective. Moving along. The Inuit portion of our performance. Now, for Inuit throat singing, for Inuit, the Northern Games are a huge part of their lives. It's an opportunity for team building to happen, but also an opportunity for them to practice surviving in the North and practicing techniques such as hunting, fishing, and whatnot. Some of the games include the leg wrestle, the knee hop. And so while in our classroom front, we had an opportunity to work with the dance and the curricular parts in our arts education time, and the classroom teachers addressed the social studies and humanities portion. This linked very nicely to their physical education curriculum, and so it was a lot of fun watching students wrestle between them, and they really connected really nicely with what we were doing overall. Throat singing is a very, very important aspect of life in the North. Now, throat singing, or kasha, is where two women would stand in front of each other. They'd often hold hands, and they repeat a series of words or vocals. And so these could be either words found within the community, people's names, animals, and through the overtones that they create with their voice, there's additional overtones and undertones that are created by hearing their voices come back off of each other. And these will continue until one of them laughs or they crack or lose focus. And so, for our performance, we had an opportunity to work with Miali and East Coley. Now, first off, finding a throat singer in the middle of Saskatchewan was amazing. They don't happen very often. But we found Miali, and it was wonderful. She came in and taught our students a song as well as how to throat sing, or we tried our best at it. And it was a lot of fun. Now, when Miali came, she was great. She brought in pictures and books about competing in the Northern Games, what it was like to be a part of that process, explained how winter can be colder than Regina, and also that what it was like to be a part of that culture. When she came to the school, there was, I must admit, some very ignorant comments made by some of the staff, and they were like, "That's the strangest looking Inuit I've ever seen." Now, Miali took that comment and was fine with it. She explained about her heritage and that her dad was Jamaican, and so her mom is from Dakota. And so she explained that, you know what, it's fine. My heritage is Jamaican, but also from the north. And she was fine with it and brought in comments and things. So it was great. She handled it very well. I want to share with you one of her stories with a student of ours. Now, he was a young man at the time. He was in grade 5, and he was often seen as disrespectful or disengaged in a classroom setting. I never saw that in our arts at the time, but that's how he had been described. He was often picked on or bullied because his facial features looked different. He had redder hair, his stature was different, and so as a result, it wasn't a positive environment. Now, as part of this project, we asked our students to kind of do a family tree and look at their heritage and where they come from. And so this student refused to do this assignment. And so in looking at his student file, we learned that he is one of the few families at our school that recognizes being Inuit. And so in knowing that, when Miali came, I asked her if she could have a conversation with him. And I honestly, I don't know the extent of the conversation or what they talked about, but there were a couple instances where she pulled him over at recess and they talked about stuff. And so I'm going to come back to the story in a second. Moving forward, we closed our piece with a large beat poetry. And I asked our students, what does the word community mean to you? And so some of the words that they gave were beautiful. And we translated it so it was trilingual. So it was French, English, and Korean. So some of the words that they came up with are the following: friendship, amitié, kindness, make people feel welcome, reaching out to others, kakiao, being together, never leave people out, people helping people, be kind, sikitu, love. So those are some of the words that they said, and we selected a couple students to come up from each class to kind of represent and speak this. Now, our young man, who I had talked about previously, he, in the middle of his beat poetry, he stands up. And I remember the classroom teachers looking at me, like, remember, there's an audience in front of us. And they're looking at me being like, what do I do? Like, what's going on? And there's nothing really I can do. Like, it's in the middle of a performance, so we just kind of let it go. And at a turn, in his true disrespectful manner, he stood there in front of everybody and said, community means Inuit. I'm not sure how we got to that process, but it was amazing. So to close our performance, we sang OCM. And this time in performance, it felt different. It wasn't just a bunch of students who just stood there and sang. They weren't just wearing t-shirts that represent a circle of courage. It was so much more than that. It was an opportunity for them to realize and internalize the words found within the song. We are family, and we are same. And they got to work together on a common goal, and music and dance were able to serve as this outlet for them to kind of express themselves and learn about their heritage, but be proud of who they are and where they came from. So this was an amazing opportunity, and I'm so thankful to kind of have been a process with the students. Following this performance, we absolutely achieved our goal. Our students and staff had an opportunity to learn about the Aboriginal cultures that exist within our school community, so First Nations, Métis, and Inuit. The staff and students did come together and work and grow through it. We had an opportunity to reach out to the community members found within our school, but also the surrounding reserves. We also emphasized the teachings found within the Circle of Courage and internalized them. Since this performance, there is a Métis dance group at the school with growing members. The staff together has kind of worked together, and some of them would consider each other friends on, which is great. And also, I still get emails from the school board reflecting fondly of this experience and saying, hey, we're going to do another one. So the fine arts have the ability to bring people together, music, dance, drama, visual art. And so culture is an outlet that allows us to showcase the various aspects of our world. When using our roots and heritage as a fuel for our education mission, we develop a better understanding of who we are and where we come from. Therefore, when art and culture work together, we have the ability to preserve traditions for the communities to